I was looking on the internet, and I saw you know how they'll put something on my Facebook page, and one of the comments in something that I had written, a woman had said, "You should read The Impersonal Life. Everything that you need for the rest of your life is in there." Now, I get books from people all the time. I'm sure people here have brought me. In fact, I've already had 3 or 4 given to me, and I've hardly been here, you know. And I've learned over the years, and I've learned especially in recent years, to not take any of that lightly. To understand that that the things that show up in your life, even if somebody hands it to you as a stranger, very often, especially if they impact you in a certain way, are going to have a could possibly be a turning point, something in your life. Because in the 60 chapters that are in here, and I can see clearly now, very often I didn't have any idea what was going on. For example, after I wrote the textbooks, for the first 4 books that I wrote, from Your Erroneous Zones, Pulling Your Own Strings, The Sky's the Limit, and Gifts from Micah. These were 4 books that all were big-time bestsellers. And as I was writing this, I was looking through each of these books, and I looked at the index of Your Erroneous Zones, Pulling Your Own Strings, Sky's the Limit, Gifts from Micah, What Do You Really Want for Your Children was the other. And I looked in the index, and the name God, or Spirit, or Higher Consciousness appeared once in all 5 books. Once. The next book that I wrote, there were 37 references to God, Spirit, and Higher Consciousness. And I never, ever sat down and decided that I'm now going to start writing about something called spirituality, higher consciousness, and so on. It was just something that was unfolding. It was a direction that I was being pulled in. And we're all being pulled because all of us share something. Every single one of us shares something. We all come from the same place. And we all return to it. T.S. Eliot said, "We shall not cease from exploration, but at the end of all of our exploring will be to return to the place from which we originated, but to know it for the first time." To know it for the first time. Now, T.S. Eliot, I believe, because I've read a lot of his poetry, was speaking about death. We shall not cease from, at the end of all of our exploring, will be to return to the place from which we, and to know it, to really know it for the first time. I'm not talking about death here. I don't think we have to die to know it. I think we have to shift the direction that we are going in our life and lose the false self, the ego. And this book showed up in my life from a posting on a Facebook page that I don't really study that often. And just something about it jumped out at me. If you read some of my recent books, like Wishes Fulfilled, that book was completely inspired by a little tiny book that I have right here with me. I carry with me wherever I go. It's called the I Am Discourses. That there is something inside each and every one of us called this I Am presence. And it's the director of our lives and the producer of our lives. And we sit here in these bodies and we believe that this is who we are. These bodies that we occupy, and these occupations that we have, and these duties that we perform, when in fact, that's not who we are at all. So I ordered this book, The Impersonal Life, and it was written in 1914. And it was published in 1917, and it was published under the name Anonymous. because it turns out that the person who wrote this book was a minister. The things that he was writing were just so outside of the box of the church that he was a minister in that he didn't want to be identified. I think he just felt he might be excommunicated or whatever. So he published it as anonymous. And he really felt that it was God, or the Tao, or Spirit. But urgently remember, it isn't what we call this thing that is moving all the pieces around, the place from which we originated, the place to which we return. Many of you know that I wrote a book a few years ago, when I turned 65, 9 years ago, called Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life, which is based on the Tao, and I became a Taoist for a year. Not because I thought Taoism is something that I want to go out and explore, but because I was called to do it. That there is a calling for each and every one of us, and it's operating all the time. And it's one of the great revelations that I've had in my own life about I can see clearly now, is that there is a divine intelligence that we are connected to.